Hello everyone! With Crazy Shapes you can expand the possibilities of pathwalk in After Effects. Make rigs, add some cool animations in a few clicks, and use extra tools to make your work easy and fun. Crazy Shapes is an extension you can find in the Windows menu, Extensions section. Here is it. To install the extension, you can use any ZXP installer. We recommend using the installer from aescripts. After installing it, all you need is to move our file with the XP format to the interface. Also, you could run the file if you connect the program with this format. So, Crazy Shapes is a set of tools to process paths. They help to make squash and stretch, wavy animation, secondary actions and more. In the interface we have two main tabs. In the first Rig tabs, locate all our primary tools and support tools in the Extra tab. Some of the scripts have alternative functionality with keyboard keys. You will see the small symbol in the corner. This indicates that you can hold the mouse on the script and you will see the tooltip. Before we show the main functionality, let's resolve one of the most tricky things with the shapes. Pathwalk in After Effects have one major problem. Let's try to connect path points with nulls using the built-in script create nulls from paths. If we create a shape with the pen tool, everything looks good. But if we try to make a parametric shape somewhere in composition and convert it to Bezier path, here's what we got. Shape layers could contain a lot of nested groups with different positions. It could break the expression's work. A lot of functionality in shapes work along the composition center. That's why we need to create shapes right in the center of the composition. For expressions, it's almost impossible to check every group transform position offset, so these problems broke a work of a lot of scripts. We don't like this workflow, so we developed the special script Reset Shape in the Extra tab. This script will reset all positions, anchor points, rotations and scales inside the layer, depending on the layer's anchor point. Also, all path points will be moved. It helps scripts like create null from path work correctly. So, if you notice some scripts work wrong, try to use the Reset Shape, which we will use many times. One more thing. Reset Shapes has an alternative hard mode. It will reset all nested shape properties, including the transform properties of the whole layer. To activate it, hold Shift and press the button. That's all. Let's start with the rigs. We will begin with the easiest trick for form deformation. Path bend and path delay. They work similarly. Path bend adds looped rotation animation to path points, like a CC bend with rotation, but on the path and all axes at once. Procedural animation will affect the point's position with delay. Here is the short explanation with the star illustration. First, make sure that all shapes are Bezier paths. If your illustration includes some parametric shapes, they need to be converted. You could make it manually or use our support tool Convert to Path. It will automatically convert all such shapes into the selected layers. Then, select the specific path or the whole layer and press the Path Bend button. The script will add expression to this path and some pseudo effects to control this animation. The path points will be delayed depending on the layer's anchor point. So if you change the anchor point, the animation will be another. almost all our scripts work with the same logic. If you notice that your shapes rotate not at the center, this is the shape center problem, as we mentioned before. Just apply reset shape on your shapes and then all should be perfect. Let's play with the tail of the server. With this rig, the fewer points we have, the faster the performance will be. So try to optimize the number of points in your illustrations. Let's see the main effect. Length delay is one of the most fundamental parameters we have. Set by 0 will disable the bend-like effect. The further the path points is from the layer center, the more it will shift in time. Increasing this value, the more significant the offsets will be. In other words, the animation will change from synchronous to chaotic. Due to this length delay mechanics, for the best result, try to place points on the path evenly. The following basic properties are bend amplitude. It needs to control the distance that points will bend. By increasing this value, you could also decrease the length delay a bit. Bend speed changes the time loop in which the bend makes a complete turn. By default, it is 2 seconds. Accordingly, set 1 will speed up the animation. It will be looped for 1 second, and so on. There are some extra properties in the bend group. We could also offset the animation over time. The frequency will shift points over distance. In this way, we could get some wavy forms. Bend directions will change the direction of bend movement from 100 to -100. Two easy bend sliders will change the type of animation. Let's make all points synchronically to see the difference. Smooth easy bend will speed up the animation in the middle, but it will be slow and smooth on the sides. The sharp easy bend has a slight difference. As the animation moves around the sides, it slows down to a halt. A combination of these two sliders helps to make something cool according to your purpose. Another set of properties is rotation. It will add the rotation of the whole shape around the layer center, like the rotation property, but inside the path. It has almost the same properties as a bend. Combining bend and rotation will give you the most exciting result. Also, we have some extra animations in the Y-axis animation group that add animation to another axis. In the advanced animation, you could also enable noise animation. The bend animation becomes more chaotic with wide variations in amplitude. Another essential functionality lies in rage group. Rage out reduces the point's deformation relative to the layer's anchor point. So in the center, the points will have smaller offsets than points closer to the outer radius. To help you view this radius, we prepared a special range controller near the path bend and path delay buttons. You need to select the layer with effects and press the button with circles. Now you can see the inner and outer radius. Overall, these range properties will help you to make animation more smooth. You can find more details about this functionality and other properties in our documentation. Besides this effect, you will find several additional sliders on the layer. Let's look at them with another example. The path bend and path delay have special functionality in cases where there is a lot of path in one shape layer. The script will add bend expression to every path in the layer. Every path will be linked to a separate effect to control animation individually. Also, all path offsets are linked to the common slider. Changing the value from 1 to 0 makes the animation synchronized. The script parses the layer structure, finds a common group for paths and adds staged animation according to their order by changing individual offset in the effects. The group's order is important for this rig. For example, if we unite all shape groups into one, This script will make the line similar to that the animation will be synchronical for all the paths in this group. Also, you can control the strength and speed of every path separately. Okay, let's move to the path delay. Overall, path delay works similarly to path bend. The major difference is that path bend have fully automatic motion, but path delay takes motion from the existing animation. For example, here is the head animation. We added a looped vertical movement. The script will add secondary actions to the path points. The script finds all paths in the selected layer and adds special expressions to them. The expression in path will delay the point's position along with the layer movement. The expression works with animation on position, rotation, and scale properties. For the head, we don't need to separate path animation. Just find path array effects and set the value to 0. Great! Like in path bend, the length delay property is one of the main delay settings. The further the path points is from the center, the more it will be delayed in time. By increasing the slider, we make this delay bigger, and the result will be more noticeable and expressive. Also, in the multiply group, we have a set of sliders that increase the strength of animation properties. They will affect the animation if they are case on the layer. To make the result more interesting and exciting, except for the length delay, we have some different delay settings. They make time offsets dependent on point's angle relative to the layer center, point's number, or tangent angle. By default, this rig works depending on the current layer transformations. But sometimes the layer gets motion from the parent layer, or even through expression links without parenting. For these cases, we add a few modes that switch by the slider. Let's see. Here is the car animation. All layers are separated and linked with a null. We need to add secondary wiggle animation to these boxes. If you apply the script, nothing changes because of the expression stitch animation in the current layer. Let's hold the advanced animation group. Parent motion property is set to 0. In this mode, the expressions will get motion from the current layer. If we change it to 1, it will get motion from the parent layer. That's all we need. Also, there is the second mode. It allows motion from the actual layer position and composition, so it receives the motion from any number of parent layers, even from expressions links only. For these cases, we add alternative modes to the path delay button. Click the button with the Alt-K will get motion from the parent layer, and click with Shift will get motion from all parent layers. So, in the illustrations with many separated layers, we don't need to switch the parent motion slider for all layers manually. Okay, that's the most important thing. Let's go to the following scripts. Path stretch is the fastest trick to get straight animation. We need to apply it on shape with path and add some position keyframes. All paths will be stretched exactly to the direction of movement. Let's look at the settings. The straight options changes the state of how the shape deforms over the movement. Smooth changes the range of deformation. It's important when we need to reduce the distance when the path should deform. Also, it helps to fix the shape at the beginning and end of the movement. Point stretch changes the number of points involved in deformation, depending on the direction of movement. Another cool option is rotation. It allows manually changing the path rotation relative to the path center and stretching. So we can get great style rotation that's very hard to create in other way. To change the center, you could try using our Reset Shape tool. For that, change the anchor point with the pen behind tool and then apply reset shape. Also, we added optional elastic animation inside path. Make case linear or up speed from 0 to see the effect. Waves on path. At the core of this script lies an expression that generates a few looped waves in one path. They unite into one complex, cool-looking wave with plenty of variations. One of the features of this expression is that it generates a selected amount of points all over the path. This feature allows us to create realistic waves on any path. Let's look at settings. Style group. By default, we use a closed style shape after applying the script. If you have an open illustration, switch this toggle to off. Due to the problem that After Effects is slow with path expressions, we provide an option to select the number of points we use. Simple formula: more points, less performance, and better accuracy. Continuing the topic of the number of points, the fewer points we have, the worse the lines curve. We don't use tangents in our path that dramatically slows down the performance, so we used built-in round corners. It automatically adds after applying the script and is controlled by the round corner slider. Each wave has basic options, such as amplitude, frequency, time offset, and speed. To make it fun and not dull, all three waves could combine into a unique one. Advanced wave settings help to produce more complex and exciting waves. You can get something cool by playing with them. Wave inversion dynamically change wave direction. Wave easing change the curve style. The noise option produces a more chaotic wave style. Easy in-out options smooth out the wave's amplitude at the beginning and end of the path, so they become fixed. Compared to easy options, Limiter completely cuts off the movement of waves in the specified range and moves this wave over the path. XY fuzz. This fuzz option changes the direction of the waves on both axes, so that you can get more exciting results. All these possibilities and infinity variations to the waves you can get. Check more cases and details in our documentation. These are the form deformation tools. Let's see what we can achieve with the K-based rigs. Let's start with the fattest type of rigs. Slider rig links the selected properties to a new slider with expression. So you could play back the animation with any number of keyframes with only one slider. The slider rig buttons work in two main modes. Simple click, the script will find the first and the last keyframe from the selected layers or properties. The script links this range of time to the slider in the newly added control layer. Alt-click, the same action as a simple click, except that it doesn't create a new control layer. All properties link to the new slider in the current layer. It seems like nothing special, but let's try something different. We could transform the slider rig into a limb-like rig, so we could manipulate legs and hands more intuitively. We have the LAN rig controller for this purpose. It is located to the left of LAN rig. We will review this rig later, but many features work in synergy in crazy shapes. LAN rig controller is our essential tool for the LAN rig and the slider rig. It creates two linked shape controllers. Black shape is the start controller and the red is the end controller. Our tools calculate the distance and the angle between them for the future rig. To unite these tools, I'll make the rig again. To redo the slider rig, you can first delete the slider control layer. We don't need to remove all expressions manually. For this, select the layer and press the Clean button. This is one of our support tools. By default, it will delete all expressions in the layer. Now we can select all the necessary properties with case or just the whole layers. Lastly, choose one of the controller layers. Let's press the slider button. Done. Now you can move controllers to control your rig. Change the position of the layer and rotate them. Cool. Actually, this is the new LAN rig based on slider keyframes. We unite some rig processes into the one-button solution. The total power of LAN rig we will show later. On the end controller, locate the effect with some settings. Rig rotation allows you to turn on/off rig rotation. The rig will ignore its rotation so that you can rotate it manually. Link position enables and disables layers position depending on controllers. With this option you can control layers and controllers' position independently. Another set of sliders is used for the technical goals of the expressions. They must stay as they are. Rig angle, rig scale and control distance values could be used for extended work with expressions and additional animations. The next important set of options is length in-out. They offset the start and end morphing states to help reach the H values of the rig. In the rigs, we have minimum squash length and maximum stretch length. In many cases, they could be not equal to the control's position. So we have two sliders to adjust this in-out length. We could start from one state, like this, and then another state. Done, looks better. Take attention to the created keyframes. All rigs for our crazy shape scripts we create according to the 3-2 case method. Here is an example of a more advanced rig. You need to create 3 necessary keys, which start from the squash state in the first key to stretch in the third. Second key, it could be an original shape without distortions or like a middle state. Ideally, the leg or hand shape should be relaxed, without squash and stretch. The following 2 keys will be alternative squash and stretch states, between which we can switch at any time. Let's do it again. After you have prepared the illustration, create the LAN rig controller. Place the start controller at the rotation point of the entire arm, in our case in the shoulder area, and the end controller on the hand, relaxed state or second keyframe. Great! If we need all the keys, I can select all layers and press the slider rig. This script will do all the other steps automatically. The new LAN rig effect will be located on the slider layer, because it contains the main keyframes to which all the other keys are linked. It would be good practice to rename this layer, so that if you create a new rig, we won't have a conflict. In the slider rig's case, most effect properties don't work, because slider rig is what we call a time-based rig. The scripts get each keyframe's time and morphs between them. This method has some limitations. We would have all the features of the LAN rig if we made the rig directly from the properties. We will try it out soon. Now we can enable or disable the whole rig and change the states using morph type. The one value indicates that we are using the first state. First 3 keys. Changing to 2 will switch the animation on the following 2 keys, and so on. Different animations in the same layers. That's cool. Let's reveal the full possibilities of the LAN rig with another example. Here is an abstract hand. It has the first squash and stretch state, the second move with the reverse direction. Also, the third is a simple morph without rotation. For this rig, we can create LAN rig controllers even easily. If we use horizontal or vertical illustration, select the layer and press the button. The script will try to place the controllers automatically along the illustration. Make sure that the beginning of the layer is always located in the same place where the start controller is. The end controller could mismatch with the shape. It's okay. Here is also a few advices. For this rig, we don't recommend that the layer have a parent layer. If you have such, try to unparent layer, and after rig, add a layer parent to the controller's layer. No keyframes on basic transform properties. If you need to move and rotate the group of shapes, try to use transform group inside the shape. After that, select the layer and any controller and press the length rig. Now, the script will add expressions to each property with keyframes. This type of rig will work with less performance but with great features. Now we can use morph function between a few states, from the selected morph type and morph into states. For example, now it would morph from the first state to the second. One of the most incredible features we added to this rig is that our keyframes values could extrapolate beyond what is set by the rig. Sounds complicated, but here's some examples. In the case of the hand rig, using the LAN in out setting in the LAN rig controls effect, we could place the end controller farther than the rig is prepared. The values will continue to change in the same direction as they have moved. Also, for the squash state, we could extrapolate this position with the LAN in slider. In the case of neck rig, you can see how points with tangents move farther from the original setup, which allows you to animate a bit more than your initial setup. If you don't like this feature or is it bothering you, you can turn it off in the length rig effect, technical stuff, limit case. These possibilities will upgrade to the path workflow, and this is just the basic functionality. We also have some advanced settings. Check out the settings in our documentation. We will move to the next rig. Speed rig. This tool's goal is to make keyframe animation dependent on speed and velocity. For us, they are almost equal. Speed rig works by combining two tools, the speed slider and the linking function. This rig uses three two-case methods. It means that for the rig we need to prepare squash and stretch states. Depending on the speed, they would morph into each other. Also, for the path or any other properties, we could create any number of possible states and then switch between them. Let's review a small example. With this tool, we can create custom stretch animation based on the moving speed and velocity. It takes just a few steps to make this speed rig. First, you need to prepare the illustration. We also need the three necessary keys. The first two keyframes could be the same. The main thing is how the shape would stretch. Here we prepared two styles of stretching. The next step is to get the necessary property velocity. For this, we are using speed rig controller. You can get speed from almost any property. To do this, choose any property you want and click the plus button left to the speed rig. The speed controller is the slider added to the layer where the speed comes from. The second slider controls the straight of the speed, which means how sensitive it will be. Now we need to create a link between animated properties and the created speed slider. Select the prepared property. Lastly, select the speed slider and press the speed rig. Done. We need to adjust a few settings to make our rig work properly. The received speed will be changed from 0, minimum speed, to 1 maximum speed. If the received velocity is too small, you could adjust straight slider to get 1 in speed slider at the moment of maximum animation speed. Like here. Here are some settings. Speed strength increases the sensitivity to velocity in the same way as position strength. It will change all the received speeds in the layer. It also has extrapolated feature like layer rig, so you can get a greater formorph than was prepared by the keyframes. We could also rotate path and change its anchor point depending on path center and move direction. Also for the path, we add the auto rotation tool, which works similarly to the auto orient function, and experimental auto flip function that try to add smooth rotation from point to point, depending on current speed and direction. The next important setting is morph type. As in LAN rig, the case would switch between states. Here is our main rig tools. Now we will review the support tools. Support tools will help you not only with our scripts, but could upgrade your workflow. We already used the clean function. It works in two modes. With a simple click, the script deletes all expressions in the layer, so you can use it with any expressions. Shift-click will delete only our crazy shapes expressions in this mode. You can combine our crazy shapes rig expressions with your own expressions. It's the best way to clean the rig only. That's all with it. Sometimes we don't need to clear all expressions, just to disable them temporarily. With a dozen or 100 expressions, it becomes a pain. So there is an on-off script to the left that enables or disables them on the selected layers or only selected properties. One button script will first see any disabled expressions in the layer and turn them on. If all expressions are enabled, the script will disable them. Like a clean script, it works in two modes. By simply clicking the button, the script will switch all expressions into the layer or selected ones. Shift-click will switch only our crazy shaped expressions into this mode, like a clean script. Another helpful script is bake. The bake function helps convert script expressions to keyframes. It helps optimize the performance of After Effects during playback and rendering. It also works in a few modes. By clicking on the bake function, we use Smart Mode. It works in synergy with our scripts. The script searches for keyframes beginning and ending on the length rig, speed rig, slider rig, path delay and path stretch, like this one. Otherwise, it will switch all speed settings for scripts with looped animations like path bend and waveform path. Then convert expressions to keyframes only in the range of loop time. Also, the script adds loop expressions on these properties with keyframes. The script will use the hard mode by pressing the Shift key with a click on the bake function. It will use the convert expressions to keyframes function in the layer in out range. Let's look at the other support functions. Path case is a simple script to create keyframes on all paths in the shape layer. Rig case script adds 5 empty keyframes for our rigs. Cool feature, by default keyframes are spaced 3 frames apart. We will already have the other rigged keyframes with other timing. We could select them and press the button. Empty keyframes will be placed at the same time as prepared keyframes. Solo path. This is analog to the layer's solo function, but for properties and groups inside the shape layer. You could select any number of paths or groups, all other except them will be disabled. Null and points linking. This is a set of 5 tools to help link paths to nulls. Points to nulls creates nulls to each path point and parent nulls to points. The second one creates nulls to each path point and parent points to them. Slider to path. The script creates a null on the path and slider control to change the null's position. Next script creates the selected number of nulls with sliders to change the null position on path borders. All nulls will be evenly distributed throughout the path. Mid-area null creates null in the middle of the selected path. It works similar to trim path mechanics. We cut the area with range in and range out sliders to help place the null in the desired area. It may not seem very intuitive at first, but this method has good performance. Here are some sliders to help the algorithm works more accurately, with less performance, and control layer rotation. Visualize paths are two functions that help visualize path points and their tangents. Due to the way After Effects works, we use two versions of this function. Fast has better performance, but slow is more accurate. Any expression slow After Effects down a bit. The performance will decrease depending on the number of points per path, so be careful with the very detailed shapes. Delete unnecessary points and shapes to speed up the work. The fast function adds expressions that will not reduce performance very much. Shapes will track the position of points in the layer, but will not be able to correctly track tangents rotation and layer scaling. This switch button to the right of the Viz path will switch path tangents visualization. The slow version adds some additional expressions to track layer rotation and scale, but be careful on the path with the amount number of points. It dramatically slows the performance of After Effects. That's all. Some more details with examples you can find in our documentation. Thank you and good luck!